Welcome on in to WagerTalk Extra. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, joined for a little Asian baseball special today from my man Tokyo Brandon and my man Adam Trigger. Let's start off in the NPB, a name that people may know, just baseball fans, regardless what side of the pond they're on. Trevor Bauer getting the start here today in the Hiroshima Carp and Yokohama Baystars game. So how are we betting this one? Does that factor in how you're going to be capping the game?
Yes, it absolutely does. So Trevor Bauer had a pretty rough start to his MPB career this year. He started off okay in his first start. I think he gave up 1 in 7 innings, but then he just got absolutely torched in his next two starts. His ERA was bloated up to 13 plus. And he went to the minors, made a few starts there, made a few adjustments, came back, and since he's been back, he's been actually quite amazing. He gave up 4 runs to the Hanshin Tigers about a month ago, but since then he's given up two, 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 one. He's really consistent. He's going out there for a lot of pitches. He's pitching 113, 111, 114. So he's really giving it his all, and he's going long. If anyone is familiar with Trevor Bauer, you know that he's all into his conditioning. He's very into the scientific methods of his training, and it's paying off because he's got a lot of longevity in his starts, and he's giving up two or less runs in almost all of his starts. So he's going against a pitcher named Tokoda for the Hiroshima Carp. Tokoda has been amazing this year. I mean, in his last 4 starts, he's given up 1-1, 3-1. He's also going pretty deep into games, usually in the late 90s. And if you look at the numbers for these guys, both of them have really good FIPS. Tokoda has a 107 whip, whereas Trevor Bauer has a 128 whip. Both of them have low ERAs. Trevor's is 3.29, a little bit high, but I think that's because of the 2 rotten starts he had at the beginning. I mean, he gave up 7 runs and 9 runs in 2 starts in less than 2 innings in both of those starts. He was just terrible. But Tokoda's got an ERA of 1.96. Both teams have decent lineups, but in the last 7 days, they're only scoring around 3 runs each. And I've looked at some books, and this total looks like it's going to come out at 6.5. So I think I'm going to be on the under 6.5 when this total comes out, because I really do trust Bauer and I really do trust Tokoda. Both of them go deep into games, at least 7 innings in all of their starts. The 2 bullpens are a little untrustworthy, but I don't think they'll be much of a factor in this one. So I do like the under in this when it comes out in the Yokohama Baystars versus Hiroshima Carp game in the MPB.
Great breakdown there, looking towards the under with Trevor Bauer on the mound. Tokyo Brandon, you know you're not allowed on this show unless you bring up my SSG Landers. And their logo got even cooler since the U.S. government was like, yeah, by the way, UFOs are real. KBO, KT Wiz taking on my SSG Landers. Again, best logo in all of sports. But I digress. How do we bet this game, logos aside?
Well, Dan, you're probably not going to like this breakdown. That's a precluder to how it's going to go here. SSG has just been mute. Cut the mic. SSG has been absolutely flaccid this last week. I mean, they've fallen and they can't get up. They are not scoring. Their pitching is letting them down, and their bullpen is unreliable. They're still up there in the rankings. But tomorrow they've got Ronis Elias going, and Ronis Elias has not been good in his KBO career, especially this year. He's got a 4.08 ERA. He's got a WHIP of 1.51. He's been not the best pitcher. The one good thing for SSG in this matchup, though, is they do have the better bullpen, because KT's bullpen has been horrific, like a horrific traffic accident that you just can't stop looking at. They are bad. But they got Sang Bak going today. Sang Bak has been really good this season. He's got a 3.66 ERA. He's got a 1.19 WHIP. And in the KBO, where runs are like pinball machines, the average game score is over 9 runs per game. Having a 1.19 WHIP is really something special. Sang Bak has been special. SSG has rocked him once this season, but he held him down in the start after that, which is more than I can say for Ronus Elias. Ronus Elias, though, his one really good start was against KT. I don't think he's going to repeat that magic this time. I really like KT in this game, but I don't trust their bullpen. Numbers not out for this yet, but go to your book and find a first five for this, because I've got KT winning the first five by almost a full half run here. So take the first five on the money line, or take KT minus the half run on the first five. But I really like KT in the first five here. Ronus Elias is a bad pitcher. Sang Bak is a really good pitcher, and KT is surging while SSG is limping. So I like KT in the first five here. That's my play.
Tokyo Brandon, what was like a car accident was hearing you casually use the word flaccid in your handicap, and then also ending it by sliding and limping as well. So masterful job as always, Brando. And by the way, what else has
blue
been
pills, guys?
Yeah, maybe they need it. I don't know. Maybe they need it. I don't. Either red pill or blue pill. Take one of them.
After flaccid and limp references, yeah. At least I'm not singing like I was on the Asian show last year, right?
Well, if people want to hear you singing, head on over. Head on over and check out the edition of First Pitch. You do drop a couple bars on that one. Speaking of masterful, how about winning 62% in the KBO this season? You can head on over to Tokyo Brandon's page today. $9 plays every day in foreign baseball action. That's Brandon's treat to you. Our treat to you is a quick little break before we bring in Adam Trigger. We're going to step aside. He'll have the last word on KBO here on a midweek edition of WagerTalk Extra. Welcome on back here to WagerTalk Extra. Getting the final word on some Asian baseball action is my man Adam Trigger. And Trig, let's get it going right away here with Hanwha Eagles taking on the Doosan Bears. How are you going to be betting this? Are you looking more as we're moving forward, or do you have a play in tomorrow's game?
So no play in this one for me. I do have two plays tomorrow, though, so I'm going to give one of them on the show. One of them is going to be up for sale on the WagerTalk site. There's only 5 games in Korean baseball, right? Like, it's a 10-team league, so just to have 2 plays in a given day is a lot. I would say this one would have been a play if the price was right. I decided it wasn't, and that's so. I like Hanwha. Plus 1.5 is the way I would have wanted to play this, and you can still play this at the plus 1.5. It's just you're looking at like minus 145 type juice, and that was a little bit out of my price range here. But the reason I like Hanwha, and I think there's value in getting the run, is just so they've lost a couple games in a row. They lost a heartbreaker in extras yesterday, and I just think you get them in sort of a desperate spot here, and also in a spot where you're sort of fading the premium being attached to Raul Alcantara, who, as good as he is, I don't know that he's that much better than Felix Pena, who Han was going to put to the mound here. And that's where I think some of the value is with Hanwha in this, sort of matchup. So Alcantara, I mean, there's no arguing that he's been one of the best pitchers in this league. He was a stud in this league a couple years ago, went over to Japan, came back, and he's picked right back up where he's left off. 2.36 ERA, 1.00 whip. He's absolutely owned Hanwha this year. They haven't been able to touch him in any of the 3 outings, but 10-team league, you're going to start to get to see guys frequently, and this will be Hanwha's 4th time seeing Alcantara this year. So, Alcantara got hammered last time out, a very rare bad start, gave up 6 runs on 9 hits to LG. So I guess one way you could look at it is he'll bounce back here. But, maybe there's a little bit of a hangover from that. Maybe the innings and the fatigue is catching up with him a little bit. And so it's just possible that Hanwha maybe breaks through seeing him for the 4th time. If they don't, they're not dead in this game, in my opinion, because Felix Pena has been just about as good. 2.77 ERA, 1.11 whip. Numbers are the surface numbers are comparable to Alcantara. He's gone 7 straight starts, giving up 2 earned runs or less. He's been competitive in almost every start this season. So he can, in my opinion, he can go every step of the way here with Alcantara. And if he matches him, then obviously you've got a good bet potentially with +1.5. Where Hanwha has a big advantage in this game, in my opinion, if they can get into it, is the bullpens. Now, I rate these bullpens roughly equal. Doosan probably has the better high leverage arms. However, Doosan needed 32 pitches, 2 innings from Chol Wan-jong yesterday, and their closer, John Hee-hyung, threw 26 pitches. So at the very least, I'd be surprised if both of these guys are available. Maybe neither are available. Certainly, Jeong coming off a 32-pitch effort is probably, I would imagine Doosan doesn't want to go back to him again. And I don't think Doosan's in a position where they feel like they would need to put one of their top bullpen arms in harm's way by running him out there a night after they just, had a 30-pitch outing. So I think Doosan could potentially go with some of their lesser bullpen arms in the high leverage innings here, which means even if Doosan does have a lead, maybe Han was able to come back. Now, Hanwha used bullpen guys as well yesterday. It was a 12-inning game, but I just think that Hanwha's bullpen's a little bit more deep. It is deeper. I'm not so much worried about their top guys. I think that they have maybe 5 guys that are roughly the same. So if it comes down to the bullpens here, I think Hanwha, I'm more comfortable with where they're at after yesterday than Doosan. I add all of that up. It seems like Hanwha getting a 1.5 head start here is probably a good bet in a game that they're kind of in a little bit of a desperate spot and need to win. But, you cover the close 1-run loss there as well. And again, if this was cheaper, I'd probably make this a client play, but up at the -145 to -150 price range, I think I have to pass there, though I do still lean the Eagles' way.
Great breakdown there. Maybe a bit of a lean, but no bet. But Trig, man of the people, promised you a client play coming up here in his second breakdown, and that's with the Dinos of NC taking on Lotte. How are you going to be betting this one, Trig?
Yeah, so Lotte, NC, this is a 4% client play. I have 2 of them. So, for Thursday morning, so the other one will be up at WagerTalk for just $9. I'm going to go with NC Dinos here. This came out, it was -110. I think NC's -115. That's what I released it at. But the bottom line is you should be able to get this in the -110, -115 range just about anywhere. Listen, right off the bat, the matchup seems very even. On paper, I have these 2 teams very similar. I would say at a glance, the 2 starting pitchers are very similar in Taylor Widener and Si-Woong Park. But I think NC comes in a nice spot as far as their bullpen is concerned. And I still think NC is the better of these 2 teams when it just comes to playing baseball the correct way. Meaning I think Lotte still finds ways to beat themselves. And man, that Lotte bullpen with an combined ERA over 5, I would say is the worst bullpen in the league, and specifically from a depth standpoint. Samsung has a slightly worse team ERA right now, but Samsung, their high leverage guys are really what brings them down. Lotte, in my opinion, has a decent closer, but when you talk about bullpen depth with them, it's the worst in the league, and I think it's by a wide margin. So because I give NC a slight sort of edge just from the overall profile, I have to go with them here. And the other thing with the 2 starters, I think Taylor Widener, who's a former Arizona Diamondback, former big leaguer, he is one of their import starters. I think he has a bigger upside here than Si-Woong Park, who has really kind of struggled his last couple times out. And I think we kind of know what he is at this point. Quality domestic starter. He's going to be in a rotation every single year. I would say he has more good starts than bad starts, but as we've seen in past years, and then the last couple times out, he'll go on these sort of runs where he's not as effective, and I feel like he might be mired in one of those right now. As you look at his last 3 starts, where it was 4 earned runs, 6 earned runs, it just hasn't been very good. Widener, on the other hand, I think has a much higher ceiling, because this was a guy that was actually excellent in spring training, had one of the better springs of any starter in this league. And then he got hurt. So we didn't see him again until like, a month or two into the season. And then as you would expect, any starter that kind of has a long layoff like that and now has to come and start their season in like late May, it took him a while to get going. And now I think we've sort of seen him get going to this point. You take his 8 starts, or his last 8 starts, 4 of them are quality starts. He really hasn't gotten blown up, and I think he got hit hard in one of them. But other than that, he's been pretty solid. And the one sort of limiting factor with this NC team has just been their overall pitching depth and the fact that they have to sort of eat up innings that starters should normally eat up with their bullpen because they have a couple injuries. But in this scenario, they're not coming in bad shape here. So they lost yesterday. They did not use Yan-Chan Lee, who's their closer, and he had a 9-pitch save on Tuesday. So as far as NC is concerned, their best relief pitcher here has only thrown 9 pitches since last week, or at least since Sunday. So that's certainly encouraging when you look at the NC bullpen. So even if we call Widener and Siwoo Park equals, which I think is a fair argument, I like the later innings here for NC. And this NC team they're very scrappy. 1-9, they have good at-bats. They're just a scrappy team that I think plays better than their numbers would indicate. And I'm willing to sort of play on that here. So I hope we get into the Lotte bullpen here. It's one of the worst in the league. I think it'll give us a really nice advantage. But like I said, if Widener can match Park here, we're going to have a nice late inning advantage. And when it comes down to these two teams in a close game, NC just executes better than Lotte, and I expect NC to do just that in this game and get the win. So 4% client play for me on the NC Dinos. You're looking at like minus 115 odds. I think it's a very strong bet for Thursday morning.
Man of the people with a free play, getting you a 4%er client play, the NC Dinos, the look from a man, Adam Trigger. And that's going to do it. We got you ready to go on 4 different Asian baseball games, 1 in the NPB, 3 in the KBO. Big thanks to Adam Trigger and our man, Tokyo Brandon. We'll be back locked and loaded here tomorrow on another edition of WagerTalk Extra. I've been your host, Dan Alexander. And don't go anywhere. For more actionable info, stay right here on WagerTalk TV.